Good morning. This actually is working out to be a very good session with a combination of several different companies talking about the problems that dialysis patients face every day. There's a significant number of unmet needs across a variety of care pathways, and I'm going to focus in today specifically on the area where we're connecting veins and arteries or synthetic tubes to arteries to provide vascular access for these hemodialysis patients. So what we've got here is a local drug delivery. We are regulated as a drug, the CDER branch, not the CDRH, the device guys. So we're regulated as a drug. The initial indication is AV fistulas, and I'll walk you through. We've done one study, and we're proposing two more. It's a significant market opportunity, a little under $3 billion market opportunity. We've already completed our first phase 3 study and are planning to start our second phase 3, as well as a concurrent trial for AV grafts. So we'll have two studies, an AV fistula trial and an AV graft trial running concurrently. And I'll walk you through the details of that. In our first clinical settings, we've shown a significant improvement in AV fistula maturation, which I'll talk about. And in our phase 2 trial for AV grafts, we also showed a significant improvement in primary patency. So I'll share that data with you. We are planning to raise $30 million this summer, and the proceeds will be used to fund these two clinical programs, finish off all of our manufacturing, prepare our CMC for our NDA filing. We've got a very well-established regulatory pathway. Unlike devices, we're on a fast-track designation instead of this breakthrough that we talk about a lot, and we also have orphan drug status. And the value of orphan drug status, it does give us some regulatory interaction opportunities with the FDA, but it also gives us marketing exclusivity upon FDA approval. So in the US, if you have orphan drug designation, you get 7 years of marketing exclusivity, and it's 10 years in Europe. We have patents in addition to that gives you a sense for the value of the orphan. And there are additional future clinical indications, which I'll touch on briefly. So I'm not going to spend too much time here. I think the other presenters have done a really great job identifying the size of the market and, most importantly, the significant unmet needs for these patients. The majority of patients that require dialysis are on hemodialysis. There has been growth in peritoneal dialysis over the past several years, and there are some really good opportunities to use peritoneal dialysis, but the vast majority of patients continue to, and probably will for some time, get dialysis through hemodialysis, and that's where we're focused. So what happens is a surgeon or an interventionalist creates a connection between a vein and an artery to create what we call a fistula. And basically what we want to do is arterialize that vein to make it more artery-like. We want to thicken the wall of that vein and enlarge that vein so that it is suitable for two-needle dialysis, as you've heard talked about earlier. A lot of these procedures done globally. The US is the largest market, but there's many of these procedures done. There's two problems. When you connect a vein and an artery surgically, there is a biological response to that injury. It's not that dissimilar to when you have an endovascular procedure in a peripheral setting, where there's a balloon injury or a stent injury, which is why we've put drugs on these endovascular devices. The drugs are there to combat that cell proliferation, which we call neointimal hyperplasia. This angiogram that you can see on the screen gives you kind of a visual. So what happens is we create this surgery, there's an injury response, the vessel narrows, and now the vessel, that after it's narrowed, can't provide adequate blood flow for the dialysis. So what we're trying to do here is apply drugs specifically to that area that is prone to this cell proliferation and vessel narrowing to keep that vessel open so we can have sustained dialysis. Same things happen with grafts. As you heard about earlier, AV fistula is the preferred access. That's true, but some patients don't have suitable anatomy for AV fistulas, or they have already lost some of their access sites, and now they have to revert to a synthetic graft. Well, grafts have the same problem that fistulas do, only it's even more focal. And if you look at this screen, you can see where this PTFE stands for polytetrafluoroethylene. It's basically a highly biocompatible material. These grafts have been around for a long time, but the problem is they still fail at that connection between the vein and the PTFE. So we can apply our drug specifically on that area to try to solve that problem. This is what it looks like. 2 small pieces of collagen impregnated with sirolimus, which is a well-proven anti-proliferative, anti-inflammatory. It's really kind of the new age drug that's being applied to drug-eluting balloons and drug-eluting stents. We apply it to the outside of the blood vessel at the time of the access creation. Just gives you a high-level look at the clinical data. I'm happy in the breakout session to go into this in much more detail. The chart on the left shows from our phase 3 randomized trial a comparison of fistula maturation. The dark blue bar is the maturation with our product, which is called Suragen. So you can see in this subset of patients 65 and older, end-stage renal disease patients, 91% of those patients had their fistula mature. And when I talk about mature, that means they've had the procedure and the fistula is now suitable and usable for dialysis. That's what we call maturation in our business. Compared to the controls of about 60%, this is a fairly typical split in terms of about 60% of the fistulas are suitable for use. And then in our AV graft trial, you can see here primary patency. That is, how long is that conduit open before it requires an intervention within the first year? In our phase 2, we had primary patency of 76% compared to 41% in the published literature. This is actually a large, recently published meta-analysis. So again, a very significant delta between treatment and controls or comparisons to recent literature-based meta-analysis. So there's good evidence of efficacy here, and that's why we want to advance these clinical programs to get this across the line for commercialization. Regulatory status, I touched on this. We've completed the first phase 3. Now we're going to run our confirmatory trial focused in on end-stage renal patients greater than age 65. We expect to start enrollment in the first part of next year. We've completed the phase 2 for AV grafts. Again, we would run that as a companion study. It's the same physician. It's the same basic care path. So a dialysis patient comes in, or a patient who's going to require dialysis, they go to a surgeon to get an access. And whether it's going to be a fistula or a graft, we can put them in one arm of the study or the other. Then they'll go on through either their fistula matures or their graft is suitable for what we call cannulation with the needles. They'll go on dialysis and we'll track their performance. Fast track, as I mentioned, as well as orphan drug designation. It's a large market opportunity. The dark blue bars are the fistulas in terms of number of procedures performed each year in those various geographies. The light blue bars are AV grafts. So in total, you've got just about 280,000 procedures globally that would be suitable for this kind of a technology to improve the performance of these patients' vascular access. This is a busy chart, but it gives you a little sense for where we're at and when we'll get across the finish line in the United States. The IND approval is expected this year, so we are currently interacting with the FDA and expect to get the IND approved here within the next few months. We'll then build our clinical units and our registration stability product, which is it's a shelf life product that we need for our ultimate NDA submission. We'll start enrollment early next year. I think it'll take a year to 18 months to enroll all the patients in both studies, but most importantly, we have baked into the trial designs an interim analysis. So right around the end of 2023, first part of 24, we'll get an interim look at the data. And if the data continue to track, as I showed you that we saw in our phase 3 and phase 2, we'll actually be able to stop enrollment in the trial earlier. So we've designed the studies with an early look so that we could actually stop continuing to enroll, and we only have to achieve the results that we just achieved in the phase 3 to be able to stop early. You can see how the timeline flows out. We'll file the NDA in 2025 and get approval in 2026. large commercialization opportunity you can see here. Granted, these sales forecasts are several years in the future, but what's worth noting is this assumes less than a 30% market adoption for just those two programs. So there's a significant commercial opportunity, and more importantly, taking care of these patients. Quickly, I know I'm running out of time. We've already done a healthcare economic study using the data from the phase 3 clinical program to confirm that we can add value. Okay, so using the product, if we get these fistulas to mature faster, we have fewer catheter problems, fewer reinterventions, and those all cost the system a lot of money, as well as you heard, they're very difficult for patients. So the 1 year savings in using our product Surgeon is $13,265. The HeatCon folks extrapolated those results out over 2 to 3 years, and you can see it represents about a $25,000 savings opportunity per patient. Experienced leadership team. I've been in and around this vascular space now 30 plus years. I love this business, and I particularly love the vascular access side of it because these patients are in desperate need of a solution. The founder of the company is actually an interventional cardiologist. Dr. Shri Iyer came up with the idea many years ago, very skilled clinician. I won't take you through the whole team, but we've got a lot of experience, multiple PMA approved and NDA approved programs under our belt. Also have the ability to apply this technology to other blood vessels. Wherever you're connecting veins and arteries, which you do in the periphery as well as you do in coronary artery bypass procedures, you have the same biological injury response. And this drug applied locally helps mitigate that cell proliferation and keeps these vessels open longer. So again, just to wrap it up, $30 million financing. We're starting right now. This is kind of the kickoff to the financing activity. We're going to use these proceeds to run these 2 concurrent clinical trials and scale up the manufacturing to get it commercially ready for, ultimately, our approval. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions in the breakout. Thank you.